Sam Silver, Undercover Pirate, Book 10, Dead Man's Hand, by Jan Burchett and Sarah Folger. Read for you by Brandon Rees-Taylor on the Jesse Millette YouTube channel. Chapter 1. Sam Silver clung to the rigging of the Sea Wolf. He could hear the frightened shouts of the crewmates below. The blinding rain lashed down, and the vicious wind ripped his clothes. Sam looked out at the churning sea. Wave after wave was breaking over the ship's rail, sending foam far into the air and making the ship lurch dangerously. Suddenly, a wall of grey water blocked everything from his view. It towered over him, higher than the tallest mast. The crew cried out in terror, and, with a horrific crashing sound, the ship smashed in two. Before Sam knew what was happening, he was torn from the rigging by the force of the water, and found himself tumbling headlong into the sea. Down, down he fell, sinking through the swirling ocean, struggling helplessly to push his way back to the surface. He was going to drown. He needed air. He had to take a breath. Sam woke with a start, gulping hard. He sat up and looked round wildly. He could breathe. He wasn't at the bottom of the ocean. He was in his own bedroom. The Sea Wolf hadn't sunk, and his pirate friends weren't lost after all. It had all been a horrible dream. But what if this nightmare had been a warning of some kind? He'd been on board the ship in many storms, and he knew how dangerous they could be. He needed to know if Captain Blade and the crew were safe, and he couldn't phone them. There was only one way to find out. Sam turned on his light, took down the dirty old bottle that he kept on his shelf, and tipped out the precious gold doubloon inside. No one else knew the secret of Sam's gold coin. It held the power to whisk him away, back 300 years in time, to join Captain Blade and his bold crew on board the Sea Wolf, the best pirate ship that had ever sailed the Caribbean Sea. Sam hastily threw on the old jeans, t-shirt and trainers that he always wore when he went pirating. He spat on the coin and rubbed it on his sleeve. At once, his tangled sheets, his pillow and his crumpled pyjamas whizzed all around him as if he'd been caught in a giant vacuum cleaner. He closed his eyes and felt himself being lifted into the air. In the next instant, he landed in a heap on something hard. He opened his eyes quickly and found he was in the ship's storeroom that he knew so well. The floor was rocking gently. He couldn't hear any crashing waves or howling wind. The Sea Wolf hadn't been sunk. But the horror of the dream was still lingering in his head. The ship might seem fine, but he had to make sure that all his shipmates were okay. He ran over to a barrel where a pirate jerkin, neckerchief, belt and spyglass lay waiting for him. His friend Charlie always put them there, ready for his return. She was the only girl on the crew, and the only one who knew he came from the 21st century. He couldn't tell the rest of the crew. They'd think he was mad. Sam ran out of the storeroom and bounded up the steps towards the deck. Just before he reached the top, he stopped, dazzled by the bright sunlight. The sails billowed against the blue sky as the wind sent the ship scudding across the waves. Happy voices reached his ears, and Sinbad, the surly ship's cat, was asleep on a coil of rope. He opened one evil eye and hissed at Sam. Sam crept past, giving him a wide berth. Sinbad was the fiercest member of the crew, and nobody could go near him except for Charlie. If Sinbad was being his usual self, then everything must be all right. Sam leapt onto the main deck, where the pirates were crouched round sacks and chests piled high on the wooden boards. Captain Blade was standing in the middle of his men. He wore red braids in his beard and 2 belts full of fearsome weapons across his chest. "By the heavens, it's Sam Silver!" he boomed as Sam ran towards him. The pirates got to their feet, grinning. A boy, his wild curly hair tied in a bandana, leapt on Sam and gave him a hearty punch on the arm. "My friend!" he exclaimed in delight. Fernando's Spanish accent always got stronger when he was excited. Ned, the boatswain, gazed out over the empty sea, looking puzzled. "Well, I'll be barracuda in a basket," he said. "How did you get here, Sam? There's no vessel in sight, and I'm certain you didn't swim." "Maybe he was dropped by an albatross," laughed Ben Hudson. Sam's brain buzzed as he tried to think of a way he could have reached the Sea Wolf. They wouldn't be laughing if he told them the truth. "He must have stowed away on a passing ship," said Charlie, coming to his rescue as usual. "Charlie's right," Sam added quickly. "It was a fishing boat, and you can't see her now because she's gone. When the Sea Wolf came into sight, I jumped overboard in a barrel, paddled hard, and here I am." "You're a true Silver," declared the captain. "Your grandfather would have been proud of your wily ways." All the crew but Charlie believed that Sam was the grandson of Joseph Silver, a heroic pirate long since dead. Sam went along with this. It was almost true. Joseph Silver had been his great-great-lots-of-greats granddad, and it was Joseph's gold doubloon that brought Sam back to 1706. When Sam went home to the present, they all believed that he'd gone to help his poor widowed mother on her farm. "Sam has Silver's luck too," said Ben. "Aye, and a pirate's nose," agreed Harry Hop, the first mate. "He can smell a treasure haul from 100 miles. He led Sam to the pile of sacks and chest, his wooden leg thumping on the deck. "You're just in time to help us sort out our plunder."